Welcome to another episode of Classic Talks, where we subscribe to a next play mentality, engaging in crucial conversations, challenging each other to take our very next step, sharing common knowledge to improve common wealth, becoming a clearer version of ourselves so that we can embrace growth. We must accept the process so we can appreciate the outcome, one conversation at a time. I am Dr. Classic. Let's talk about it. Yo, we back at it again. Classic Talks podcast. I am Dr. Classic, and you know I am in here with the financial champion, Mr. Jarret McFarland. What's happening, Jerry?
Hey, Dr. Classics, what's going on?
Chilling, man. I'm having a good day, as you can tell.
Yeah, me too. I'm always having a good day, though. So.
Oh, you look nice, though. I like that. It's one of them custom suits. It look like it fits you well.
Oh, well, thanks. You know, I do what I can when I can.
I know about the stitching in the sleeve. Like you put a player up on game to get they act together. I taught you everything you know about getting dressed.
It's part of the territory.
Part of the territory. Man, I wanted to have a good conversation today. Check-in on the climate. I don't know what you've been thinking about. I know you always thinking money, Mr. Financial Champion, but outside of that too, like, what else is going on in the world that's worth even having a conversation right now? When we think about next play mentality, when we think about making plays, I feel like we are often in that mindset and kind of checking on each other like, hey, what's happening with this? And remember you spoke about that, how we going to get to it. What is worth the conversation right now? What do we need to be focused on?
I don't think we need to stray too far from what we always talk about us making a play. But there are a lot of variables going on right now, you know, with the elections. I think we have a winner and everything with that. So we're going to see how that plays out. But I don't want people to let that stifle them from growth by saying, okay, well, this is what's going on or this is going to work for us or anything. You can't keep relying on that. We need to change our mentality around that.
Yeah, agreed. So, you know, just us just hitting the ground hard early on in life, like, I'm not a huge risk taker, right? I hadn't been historically a huge risk taker, but I'm kind of leaning more into the fact that if you haven't learned anything this year, it kind of is what it is. Like, you're not sure if you're getting the truth half the time. You're not sure if you really got the whole story most of the times. Like, you got to kind of put it together. So risk have been something I had to take this year or I'd be behind. When we think about risk, especially with just, I don't know if you noticed, they put a headline up that the Dow was like up 1,500 points on the morning after Biden won. Like, is that relieving people? Like, are people thinking like we gonna get some set of normalcy? I will say this: when he gave his address to the nation after they kind of got him and projected him at 270 and whatever it is, it sounded like a regular president address. Like, it wasn't nobody got talked about, nobody got left out. Like, it wasn't no command to Trump down. Anything, like just saying I'm gonna be here with you. Like, it's everybody. We need to move forward from this. We need to heal. That's the message I got. Like, it felt normal. I wonder if people felt like, okay, we're gonna get back to some normalcy with this.
I think it was a relief for a lot of people, but I also believe that them seeing the markets not falter, not have the volatility that has happened in historic elections gave a lot of people a sense of calm, because we're waiting to see which way fiscal and monetary policy is going to go based on Republican or Democrat. And the market was doing well before, and the markets just kept balling. You know what I'm saying? This just kept going and going and going. So I think that relieved a lot of people from that standpoint. And then you have a lot of people that felt that, hey, look, like you said, this is new beginnings. You know, whatever that may be, it's just a new starting point. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I was gonna say one thing that did calm me, and I was trying to pay attention to. I'm trying to learn stocks, honestly, but just trying to pay attention to what it means to like invest your money, sit on the other side. One thing that did calm me is that I know Biden, like, he plays ball. Like, I feel, even hearing it from some of the Republicans who worked for him when he worked with President Obama, he's willing to reach out to the other side and hear conversation. We talked a little bit about, well, me personally, I don't feel like I think the parties are what tear us apart in the very beginning. Like, I think it'll come down to a vote, but we should put a listing of people up there. I'm not saying 15, but maybe, 5 substantial candidates that make it out of whatever preliminaries look like. And they don't represent a ticket, a party, or anything. They just represent presidency. And I want to lead a nation. Like, it almost feels like if a Republican candidate wins, all the Democrats lost. If a Democrat candidate wins, all the Republicans lost. Like, there is no work or forward progress in that. I'm just hoping that when they get to these tables, man, y'all, we had 4 years of chaos. Like, how many more years do you guys want to argue and not get anything done? Like, Trump had a boss when he was in there, obviously, and everything he tried to push across the table was just 4 years of chaos, man. I just hopefully they can get in there and talk and show, like, American people, model how we should really truly act. Because one thing is for certain, this pandemic is not under control. Texas just got up to 1 million cases. It's burning hot out in the east. Like, it's one of those things where I'm a little nervous, like, to any kind of engage. Thanksgiving is coming up. Everybody, what you do for Thanksgiving? What everybody do for Thanksgiving? You go find all your loved ones and thank them for still being here to be here. And that's a whole lot of COVID passing, man.
Yeah, it is. We do need to get a grip on that. Without going too deep in the weeds, you can dissect that several different ways. I just think that we all need to be safe, and we need to find another way to conduct business, to make a living for ourselves, to provide for our families that won't involve necessarily face-to-face. I know a lot of corporate entities and organizations and us, we've implemented Google Teams and Zoom meetings and things like that to do things virtually. Maybe that's the new norm. If you can think of an idea that comes out of this where we can get very proficient at doing what we're doing virtually, who knows? The sky's the limit. You're saving a lot of time on top of that. You're in the comfort of your own home with your family. So this might be the beginning of a new era.
You said it best, man. Honestly, I like conducting business like this. Like, this has been our norm. We're in 2 totally different regions of the nation right now, and we're able to have just a regular face-to-face conversation. I can conduct more business this way than I could driving over to something, meeting somebody at a coffee shop, flying out to connect with a couple people. Like, this has been able to, like, I get a full schedule. I can get this recording in here. I can go over and have a coaching client here. I can meet somebody and we can go through a presentation and talk about the larger meeting after this. Like, it's some good business being conducted through this new platform. I'm hoping people lean in. You say it best. It's going to be a new wave of millionaires that come out of this. They have to, because people thought innovatively. Not that they created something completely new, because Zoom has always been here. WebEx has always been here. Like, all this stuff, it exists already.
Right. You name it.
But people have found out how to level it up, how to make it that much more user-friendly, how to make it be able to conduct business, save money, make money, grow money. You know what I mean? Like, that's innovation to me, is trying to figure out how to make it that much easier for somebody to pick up and make their road or their journey that much easier. That's business to me.
Oh, absolutely. And we live in a tech world. I mean, everything's tech, from our cars, computers. Our cell phones are computers. They're in our hand. We have a computer in our hand at all times. Yeah. So why not learn how to dominate this market and just make our business grow, make our presence grow? You got a lot of people that's having virtual family reunions, you name it. So the holidays are coming up. It's going to be unprecedented. You're going to have people, 20, 30 people on one screen saying the Lord's Prayer or blessing the food around the table, and everybody's in their respective home, so it's definitely a different time right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's exactly. And what's so funny is my family has done a like FaceTime type of, or the Zoom type of Christmas every year, Thanksgiving, so we can do Secret Santa exchange, because we got people on the West Coast, people in the Midwest. So this year it'll just be, now that I got all this equipment, I'll be able to cast us, the whole house. Like, we'll be able to kind of get it in this year. So I'm excited about what can come out of 2020. There has been so much negative stuff we've gotten this year, and I mean, you count it from people that we've lost this year that's just been awkward, out of place, just doesn't understand it, all the way to like what's going on with our nation and who lives really truly matter. So I'm excited to, one, get out of 2020, but two, I for one have taken so much out of this year. I've had so much growth. It's been some good failures this year, like stuff that I'm like, I had to lose that in order to get to this next level. I had to do this, in order to make this play. So I don't know how to be, it's bittersweet. I am pumped. There are going to be a lot of stories I start with, remember in 2020, remember when the pandemic was doing the what, like this, right. This is what the conversation going to look like for me. So I'm one with you that we got to learn how to take this and make it a bigger thing.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree. It's been a weird year. It took a while to get up and running. I think a lot of people didn't know what to do. There was a lot of fear driving everything. And then now it's set in, it's became somewhat of a norm, and we're learning how to navigate. So let's see what happens. Yeah. And I do think it's going to lead to unfortunately, a lot of business failure, especially small, and closely held businesses or your mom and pop shops. Those things might not make it through this. A lot of the service industry won't bounce back through this, which is contributing to the unemployment rate. But this is a perfect opportunity to hone your skills, right? When everything else was shut down, you had nothing but time on your hand to get better or to learn something, right? So if you didn't take advantage of that, that's a shame on you. I can't feel bad for you or feel sorry for you or anything. It's just you were undisciplined.
Yeah. You and I have this talk and this wonder, and I get out and I talk to a good amount of people in the spaces that I can, get into. But I wonder if people really did take a good moment to like reflect and compound on this year. Like I talked in another session, Classic Talks Fridays, we had a conversation about what it meant to reflect and like slow down and say to yourself, like, what do I like about myself? What do I want to grow about myself? What do I want to change about myself? How can I get better? Mm-hmm. That 1% of the day you talk about, or how do I win the day? And after a while, you kind of get like excited about that process. Like that kind of like self-starts you into thinking like, okay, now that I did that, what can I do? Like what can be done? Like it's almost like that evolutionary growth. I'm wondering what people really did do with this time. I am hopeful that people are trying to figure out how to make this space a better space, whatever space they're consuming at the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think it's been in the forefront of everybody's mind. That's just about the actual condition that people are in, right? Whether it's mental health, physical health, financial health, people are hurting, and we need to put that to the forefront of our mind and make a difference. And I know we touched on this before, but if you look at the disparities that's out there, like it's never been more evident than right now, with everything that's been going on, the leadership we've been under and everything, and so much hate has been incited, and people are realizing that, hey, I'm not where I need to be. My counterparts are doing X, Y, Z, and it's not based on credential or anything like that. It's just a whole system that actually needs to be reworked and redone. So that there is an even playing field on everything. Why not?
Let's jump into that. We were going to talk a little bit about disparities. Let's talk through one. Let's talk through what it means. Give me one. You always on top of it.
Well, I'm going to start in my industry. Okay. We know the wealth gap is like this, between Caucasians and Black and brown folk. Yeah. Okay. How did that happen? Okay. We can go back to the origin of it, which is systems that have been put in place and us not having access to different things and resources and vehicles to grow wealth. And we can extrapolate that to where we are right now. Very simply put, from a 30,000 foot view, right? And that shows us exactly what's going on. And we are seeing that as we start to mature and get older and build our lives. We're seeing that, hey, look, we didn't have the same start as our counterparts, right? They're not necessarily doing any better than us in our respective fields, but they're leaps and bounds ahead of us in terms of assets, in terms of real estate, in terms of things that really count for growing wealth. Think about that.
And you make a good point. So, and this is always crazy to me because we never put things into like a fair perspective. Like I've heard so many conversations across the news, and one good argument is like, people have that like look of, well, it didn't happen to you. You weren't a slave, and you can't hold on to that kind of mentality, like dismiss it. But if we look at it and we think about it, 400 years, right? We come up on shores 400 years ago, so that could be considered a long time. I'll give you that. 1968, 52 years ago, we got fair housing.
Mm-hmm.
52 years ago. Like that's
Yep.
that's not even some people, that's people mamas. There are people like
That's my mom.
my mama. So my mom at the time when she was growing up didn't even have a Fair Housing Act. So that's one generation removed. That's not a long
Right.
time to consider what we're still not suffering from. Like there are components that have kept us from authentically building wealth and legacy for our family. Like we couldn't get into certain places. Redlining kept us so far down the food chain that nobody wants to move down there, nobody wants to buy down there. Like we're never going to earn or eat. Like you don't want to buy your house in a place where you don't feel comfortable laying your head, but you can't go across a certain line because got on the right collar. And I'm weirded out about that, but we have to be very intentional to say that happened 52 years ago. Even though the law was written into place, it takes more than a generation to change hearts. Think about what we're dealing with.
Think about this. Wealth inequality has not improved in the past 50 years, Kenyelle.
Has not. It's the
Why
same.
has it closed? And you go back to 1963, the average wealth of white household was 121,000 higher than the average wealth of non-white families. In 2016, the average was 919,000 or 700,000 higher than the average wealth in black households at 140,000. That's a problem.
Super problem. Super.
And like we were talking about, but it goes back to Fair Housing Acts and things that happened prior to that. Our grandparents, our grandparents, parents, etc., not being given an equal slate to pass anything down to create wealth. Because the bottom line is, if you're not in business, have a business entity, you're not passing on land or real estate, life insurance benefits, stocks, and things like that, you're not creating any wealth, not at all. And we could not participate in that forever, because we didn't have access to that, for one. And for two, those that did have the means and could and wanted to do that, they couldn't because of redlining, because of insurance companies not selling people policies and things like that to help transfer wealth. We couldn't have any of those vehicles. So we're always starting from day one. And I like to use the analogy. It's like, imagine us running a race. 4 times around a track is a mile, right? We're all running a mile. And our counterparts are starting at lap 3. We're starting at lap 1, but we're both running the same speed. That's kind of what it feels like today. It's like, okay, yeah, we got the same jobs, we got the same credentials, we got the same education and degrees, but we don't have mommy's or granddad's lake house cabin to fall back on. We don't have the benefits of life insurance proceeds. We don't have any of that. You get what I'm saying? How are we ever going to catch up?
And that's the fight right there. They got a 400-year leg up on. You know what I mean? Now the time is like, 400 years of you owning all the land. One, illegally immigrating to this land and taking it over to be yours, and we had to wait 400 years just to get a piece of paper to say we could, even though you created more rules on top of that paper to say, we good on that. We hear you out, we wrote it in, but we're not going to let you move into this area. And then we'll block bust. People knocking on other people's door, hey, they selling to a Brown family down the street. Let me know if you want to sell your house because we out of here now. So now we got enough people saying no, don't do that. Stay in our own space and keep that out the way. It's unfortunate, and I'm hopeful that people have taken the time to consider the environment. There's been so much Black Lives Matter campaigning. Look into what it means. Like, look into some of these organizations. What are the causes that they're fighting for? When we think like the police brutality, we need to really consider how we are structuring what happens with our law enforcement. They have taken over the privilege of America. Like the the same way we have this American housing privilege, it's the same thing to me with police. Like, they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be showed up. And it's not all of them. We all have friends. I have several friends that are on law enforcement. I have a new buddy that just went into law enforcement, brand new, within the last, 30 days. So, hearts out to the people that are really, serving, protecting. But when we look at the good old boy system, we have to break that system completely down. We have to look at new policies, new structures where we are looked at as humans. Like, we have to be considered humans. We have to look at the kind of content that we're able to feed over to our children, even from our community. What are we saying about our Black women? We're having such a struggle with Black women. I'm so excited that Harris got into office. I'm so excited that she's on the ticket. And I honestly feel like I voted for her more than anybody in the election. I was voting for her. And I'm happy that she's going to arrive there, because it's something to see. I don't know how you felt about it, but it was overwhelming to see her get on the stage and kind of give her addressing, like, man, she got there. Just for, how many hearts and minds it's going to change in just women, for what she's able to accomplish with just being able to make it to that seat. So I'm hopeful that there should be, that can be a shift here. Rick Ross said it best, if you want to be honest. I'm glad Trump became president. We had to destroy it before we build again. We can't go off the same foundation. The foundation is broken.
And you know what? You know how I feel about politics, which is another conversation. But what that means for me to see Kamala is that for everybody that has Black and brown daughters or grandchildren, they get something to see and believe in, because seeing is believing, and if you see it, you can be it, is my whole thing, right? So they're looking like, wow, this lady is here, basically the highest office in the United States of America outside of the president, so that's really good for our motivation. That's really good for being symbolic. And I think that will have some lasting effects long term for a lot of us. So that's good.
Really, for me, man, like, she's a Black woman at the end of the day, and I know as a woman what you have to go through. Like, there are so many double-edged swords when it comes to being a woman. So when I say, I agree, the most unprotected class of people in America, probably the world. And when you look at it, it's more or less like, we already have, now take a Black woman for that. She's already behind the Black label, right? You're already in the African-American community. Then you're a woman. So you're not going to get paid as much as even your Black brothers. You're not going, because you're not a man. Then you have to kind of keep it together, because you can't be that woman. Like, you can't be the one that's emotional. You can't, like, you have so many pieces to play when I work with a lot of emotional men. That's all they are, is emotional. And everything is power. Everything is power. And all the time. But I can't come in with that same swing. I don't care how I look at it. And when we kind of know that, so we have to play a different game. So we were playing one already just because, you're Black. Then you play another game on this side just because you got to watch that emotional swing and toggle. And then for the women that's out here, like, I got to have a family. I got to have a career. I got to make sure I'm on my A's and B's and Q's, because any moment somebody put an article out about her that she had a cigarette. Like, man, Trump did everything under the sun you want to put out. She had a drink, 2 drinks at the, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't make it so much about history. We need to undo some of what we have been taught and conditioned and programmed with history. It hasn't been the full story, and now we're seeing what it means on the other end to have a broken leadership in country right now.
And I think it's going to take a while for us to get back where we need to be. We got to go through a lot of stuff on every single level. I'm not sure if 2021 is going to be a good year for turnaround, because I think that it's going to incite a lot of hate, and people aren't going to be able to let go of what was.
Yeah, like, it's going to be hard to take over, huh? Yeah.
And then you have a lot of people that's not ready for that. You have a lot of people that say, hey, look, there's nothing wrong with anything that's been going on in our country since its inception. Let's keep it that way. And they're fighting hard to keep it that way.
Yeah. So let's be clear. This vote was too close to me. Don't get me wrong. Biden had record-setting numbers. I can't remember the amount, but about millions more than even Obama brought through the door. So this was one of those record-breaking turnouts for votes, and I'm so glad they were able to get the mail-in ballots counted and accepted. My biggest piece is how many people came out to vote for Trump. Where are these people? Are not just out in the open though. You'll get a few of the the folks that are going to come out with their flags and their Trump hats, but not. Look at how many people voted for Trump. I put up a post like, we still have kids in cages. You have misused our military. You have not controlled a world pandemic. You knew about a virus more than enough time to kind of get some kind of control over it. Like, you have been one of the most deceitful. Where you get these votes from? Why are people still okay with being like, I mean, I'm cool with another term. Are you? Like, just as a human, I don't care about you being white. I don't care about you being rich. I don't care about you. Just as a human, you are okay with. And then some of our Black and brown community voters, like, he has women. I mean, he has a spread of people that are truly voting for him. What bubble of space are you guys living in? To your point, the chaos doesn't harm them, and the casualties don't alarm them. They're okay with it. So I like to know those people up front, though.
I don't know where we're going from here, but it'll definitely be interesting to see. The only thing that I do know is I don't think that this election is fully over. And what I mean by that is the president hasn't succeeded yet. And I don't trust it. Like, I don't know what's going to happen.
I knew for sure Trump wasn't going to concede in this vote. It didn't fit his already tirade. For he couldn't even say publicly that he likes, I'm not a good loser type of thing, whatever that means, right? So I didn't think that it was going to be something he's going to call and just really give up. He's doing a Trump out. He is going to use all of the taxpayers' money to have litigations running rampant and wild. He's going to waste the taxpayer dollars and taxpayers' time with a recount. Georgia already claimed that they would, recount the ballots. I heard recently this morning, but Georgia hasn't even been decided on. So it's still going to be 270. Even if Georgia flipped or turned, it's 270. You know what I mean? Like, just a waste of time in my eyes. But however it's going to do or go, I believe that on January 20th, Biden is going to be able to take the seat. Now, however, they got to remove him, pull him out, military drag him out. But at that time, when Biden takes control, they need to be following orders. And then that'll send a huge message if anything goes opposite of that. So,
absolutely.
Maybe Putin can give him a call, tell him to go ahead and.
Right.
All right. Anything that we have, and thank you for the conversation, man. I always enjoy the Classic Talks podcast, because we can really have this open black and white conversation where we can talk about things on any side of the house. So I'm hopeful that, to your point, that people take in a calm understanding and notion about how to proceed forward. Step back, take a strategy plan, regardless of Biden taking a seat or Trump taking a seat. You have to make plays. You have to be the one that puts your ducks in a row and figure out what's going to be your game plan, visioning, goal setting, strategic planning, getting something out and moving and being effective with that time so you can create something valuable. Anything for our listeners, anything that you want to give out as far as just good of the group?
Just stay with your foot on the gas. I mean, whatever you're doing, keep doing it and go hard at it. I mean, we always talk about making the next play and having a certain mindset and mentality. Everything else, even with these politics, it's all noise at the end of the day. I mean, because to be perfectly honest, it really doesn't matter too much. I mean, not for the majority of us at the level that we're at. It doesn't matter. Okay, some policies are going to help take care of the people that aren't willing and able and can't do a little better than others. Some policies are going to help people that are in business, from tax incentives and breaks, a little better than others, et cetera. But if you're not for sure in one of those arenas, I mean, it's just business as usual. Things are going to go on. One thing I will think that it will do, it'll put a different vibe in the air, right? So we're not going to have so much just anger and animosity that's out there. I think that's basically endorsed currently. I think things are going to calm down and people are going to get back to how things used to be, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I am hopeful that whoever is hearing this message get involved in the conversation. It's good to have conversations like this one with whoever you can have them with. Anybody who is willing to just be open to what the talk could lead to. I do believe that even though we are in a particular place, a place that I don't think any of us have really ever seen the likes of what this pandemic has done in general, or what this leadership or politic run has done in general. We are in a place where we can decide what we do next. We are in control of our responses fully, 100%, and I'm willing to make plays to figure out what it is I need to do and to get there. So we're looking for anybody who is willing to see, your own thought process through. Your mentality has to be that you can get it done, and that we can win together. So until next time, this is Classic Talks podcast. I am Dr. Classic. I'm with Jarret McFarland, the financial champion. Like always, let's talk about it.
What?